Welcome to the Board of Advisors podcast. We are here for our Q1 summit. We are at the Ritz-Carlton Las Colinas in Dallas, Texas. I'm Cheryl Conner, and I'm here with Gene Eidelman, who is the CEO of Azure Printed Homes. Gene, welcome.
Cheryl, great to see you. Thank you for your time.
Yes. I want to hear you tell all about Azure Printed Homes. What led you to that project? And where does it stand now?
Sure. It's been quite a journey, and you've been a big part of it. So,
I have.
But I'm sure we'll come up with some information you didn't know. Right?
You probably will.
Yeah. So we started 7 years ago when my business partner and I decided to start Azure construction. We were really our thought was we need to rebuild Malibu. This was after Woolsey Fire in Malibu. And we put on the blackboard 3 bullets. We want to build faster, less expensive, and with less waste. We started building homes and ADUs, and then 6 months later, COVID hit.
Oh.
So it was during COVID that we actually, when we sent all of our office employees to work from home, our crews were working on site, that we had time to really think, look at that blackboard where I put those 3 bullets, and how are we going to accomplish this?
Yeah.
And we're hoping initially to find some equipment off the shelf that could, we really were committed to doing in the factory because there are so many things, weather, all kind of issues. You can't control quality when few workers work at different sites. So we wanted to do it in the factory. That was a decision. And then we looked at all kinds of methods and looked at 3D printing, of course. So 3D printing has been in existence for about 11 years now, mainly with cement on site. And we loved the 3D printing, but didn't like doing it with cement on site. So really lots of talking, lots of experimenting, lots of getting together in the evening, not knowing what are we going to do next day, and the next morning having all kinds of ideas. So that was the beginning of the company, really. After 2.5 years of tinkering and thinking, we were able to borrow some 3D printers and print our first model. That was March 28th of 2022.
2022.
Yeah, so just a little bit less than 4 years ago when we were able to print the first little backyard studio.
And from there, you have 2 factories going 24/7 in Greater Las Vegas, correct?
No. Well, first factory is in Los Angeles.
That's right, Los Angeles.
And the
Gardena.
the second factory is opening in Denver in March. It was very gradual. We went from just having 10 employees to 20 employees to 2 shifts, now even weekends. And the Colorado startup is going to be very similar. We're going to start out with a small crew. As orders build up and as more people or more of our team members get familiar and comfortable with equipment, we'll increase the volume. But it's very comforting to now have 2 locations because we can be more aggressive, taking bigger orders. So if one factory is too busy, the second one can help. Or if something happens in one factory, whatever, some natural disaster, we have a lot more flexibility.
And it's interesting, you don't stop to think about it, but it was you who explained to me that most of the inspection, in this case, happens at the factory.
That's a huge time saver. I often forget how difficult it was to get inspectors. So on a traditional site, the inspectors usually tell you, when you call in for an inspector, they'll tell you, we'll come back next week, say Thursday, 1 to 5. And you need to now line up contractors who will go after this inspection, say for Friday morning, right? So what happens is Thursday, first of all, nothing can happen until that inspection. So you usually lose 3-4 days. Oof. And then the inspector can call you at 5 minutes to 5, say, I can't make it here today. I'll be there tomorrow at 9. Well, what that means is you have to push back the subcontractor who's going to come on Friday.
It's a mess.
To the following Monday.
Right.
The same thing with approval. We still have to apply for approvals for foundations and utilities to this county. But for the approval for the building itself, we apply to the state. California, as well as 20 other states, realize that they can't handle it, so they outsource it to a third party. So we work with an agency that inspects our plans, and the same agency inspects the work. So what happens is they have a turnaround of 1 week instead of 1 month. You know exactly who is the person who is looking at them, where when you apply to the county, you don't know who is going to look at them. And then once you start construction, inspector comes. We now have 20 units on our floor. He can observe different level of completion at different units. So when he comes, in a matter of a couple hours, he can inspect different aspects of 20 units. So there is no slowdown at all.
Oh, wow. Economy of scale.
Well, it's economy of scale. And it's the whole structure. It's like, if you can imagine, if we were to build cars the way we build homes, right? It's like you would bring in an engine, and somebody would have to go come and test the engine. And then you would have to, bring every aspect of a car. And if you wait for inspection, the cars would never be finished. So that's what's happening with construction. So the delays that people talk about are not just about labor shortages and material supply shortages, but it's the whole process of inspection. It's like agricultural type times in the modern era.
So you are upending the entire system and industry.
Yeah,
really.
It's we really never thought of it this way initially. We just thought, look, we're going to be a little startup to do things a little bit faster, a little bit more efficient. But what we're realizing now is we're actually building a platform to produce all kinds of different housing. It's like industrial platform to build all kinds of housing. It's like, auto manufacturers are not setting up, in most instances, are not setting up just to build luxury cars or just to build economy cars. Right. You have auto manufacturers who build a whole range of cars. It's the same thing. We're a housing manufacturer that can deliver all kind of housing. We start with housing for the unhoused. Homeless population in LA is 75,000.
Right.
In California, some over 350,000. Huge problem. Cities spend close to $1 million per unit to build permanent housing for the homeless. The fact of the matter, it's less than 10% of what counties usually spend.
Right.
It's done in a matter of months. And it looks nice, So I always said that affordable housing does not need to look ugly. You look at some projects that were built in cities, and they look ugly. They're square, they're brick. These are very attractive. They're very, they're easy to maintain. And the reality is, now county will have more money to help folks with addictions, with vocational training. And so hopefully in 2 to 3 years, this village is not going to be necessary. And when it's not necessary, these units can be just totally unscrewed from this ground screws and moved. And,
that's amazing.
And you can just repave the parking lot, and you get your parking. It's a parking lot of a hospital, county hospital that we're using. It can go back.
It can go back. That's amazing. Yeah. Well, and my favorite footage I've ever seen is of these units from the drone footage, sped up, of these units all coming in. Yeah,
well, what happened was we've been shipping them about 10 a week to a site, to a parking lot right next to it. And when the ground screws were ready and all inspections were approved, in a matter of 2 days, we lifted with a lift 34 units,
And set them down.
Yeah. And then and by the end of February, the rest of them are going to be finished. And so by April, all the decking and all the landscaping is going to be done, and people will be moving in May. So
that's going to be fun.
Right. So that's, the lowest end. But as you know, we provide units for affordable housing. We now have several apartment projects that we will complete. For multi-story apartment buildings.
Right. But ADUs
studios is still a big, it's spreading nationally. You have glamping resorts. These are eco-resorts that use our units for short-term stays. And then all the way to luxury homes. We've had a natural disaster in LA County where 16,000 homes burned in January of last year.
You guys are a huge, huge part of that recovery effort.
And we now have over $13 million worth of contracts for people to rebuild their homes and rebuild their lives. And again, it's the big issue was from the very beginning where people worried about where they're underinsured. Can they rebuild the same size house they had before? And when regular contractors start to quote prices, many people put up their lots for sale because they said we can never rebuild. Well, the reality is, you might not have $1 million to rebuild a house, but you will have $700,000, right? And we can do it. We can do it for $700,000 what normal contractor will do for $1 million.
And it won't look prefab.
It will never. I'm building my own house on one of the
there
lots.
We go.
It will not look prefab, you know, and it'll look beautiful. It'll have. People will never know that it was done in the factory. I mean, that's the whole idea.
And cabins, some of them are on wheels that are mobile.
So some of the units that we ship to glamping resorts are common as chassis. They're called tiny homes or park models. The advantage to those is you can bring them to a site, put them in a place where you think it'll work. You might find out 3 months later that this is not the best place, or you might build a pool there. You might want to move them. So first of all, they're movable. Second of all, the tax law that passed just in July of 25 allows 100% write-off for one of these cabins. So a developer who is building a 30-unit resort in Joshua Tree is going to write off her whole investment in year one.
Oh.
Because all of these units that they're going to bring, so the law basically says that if the unit is used for rental and it's transportable or movable, it can be written off in 1 year. What incredible! I mean, in addition to this being incredible economic,
that was quite a windfall. That's a boom.
It's a windfall that nobody expected.
Yeah.
So now, at the end of the year, we had a slew of orders because people wanted to get the units before the end of the year to get advantage of the tax. But this law is going to be in effect for many years to come. So now, people who are thinking of short-term rentals have this other opportunity. You know, instead of attaching the house to foundation and writing it off for 20 years, they can have, in many, many more cities like San Diego and others are now allowing these units on wheels to be as an ADU. So if you're building an ADU using one of these tiny homes, you can rent it, have additional rental income to reduce your mortgage payments, and you can take a huge write-off. It's a win-win. So it's a little bit being at the right time in the right place. This is my fourth startup. I've never experienced coming out with a product and people coming into our factory and wanting it for something that I had no idea that it could be used for. I mean, I didn't know what first customer walked in and said, I want it for glamping resort. You know, I'm from Ukraine, so my English is not perfect anyway. But I had to put my phone under the conference room table to see what glamping means, right? And then somebody said, tiny home. I said, I'm not sure what it means. It just means small home. No, they said there is a conference in Anaheim this weekend.
So
and I went and saw a line of people lined up to work in this tiny home.
That's right.
I came back on Monday. I told my partner, I said, look, we can just put the same unit on wheels and we have a tiny home.
Right.
So it's been pretty incredible. I think that so many people are involved in real estate. You have, on the one hand, you have professional investors, and you have people who just own their property, own their home, and now can think of it as a potential business to create short-term rental, to create additional housing for their family, on and on and on.
Well, speaking of that, I'd like to delve into that a little bit. You gave a TED Talk in 2025 that was named one of the 30 most important for the coming decade.
I was shocked that I was accepted to do a TED Talk. And then the night before TED Talk, I committed to doing this TED Talk many months in advance, but then we were accepted into a startup program in Hong Kong the week before. So Friday at 5:00, I did a 1-minute elevator pitch in the elevator in the tallest building in Hong Kong. And then after it was done, I ran to the airport, flew to New York, took a train to Delaware. That's where the TED Talk was.
That's where it was.
So first of all, I was totally exhausted. Second of all, I was thinking of preparing for it the whole week in advance, but taking the TED allows 18 minutes or 18, 20 minutes, and then to try to compress it into 1 minute that you do on the elevator, I absolutely couldn't focus. I was just, I was trying to measure how many seconds it'll be for every word.
But I think that the topic touched so many hearts.
Yeah.
And coming from your background.
Right.
Because you grew up in Ukraine. You moved here when you were 16, made your own way, got your education, started the first of several businesses You didn't mess around.
Well, it's it's not me. It's what a country, right? It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you cannot come to any other country in the world. We have issues.
We
right?
do.
But in no other country in the world can you come and become an American, right?
Right. If you do
cannot,
it legally.
when you come to Italy, you cannot be Italian, right?
Yeah.
And we went through a refugee process.
Right.
We had to wait for 6 months in Italy before we came here to get our permissions. But A, we became Americans. B, it's a land of opportunities. It's been, 40 years ago, and it still is. So in this respect, I don't take as much credit myself. I mean, we have a system that is beneficial to entrepreneurs. People who have good ideas and work hard, it's achievable.
Some seasons better than others, but still.
Yeah. What I try to cover in this TED Talk is kind of my journey, this 35 or 40-year journey. It really is just home ownership is a big part of American fabric.
The concept
right?
of home.
Right. And home does not need to be big. It doesn't need to be luxurious. I grew up in a very small place on a six-story six-story apartment building with no elevator. But I had a very good childhood. It was a place that we cherished. And the same thing now. It's, you've had all of these natural disasters. You have all this fire. So it's really critical to help people who've gone through natural disaster to rebuild their lives. But our young generation need to have a path.
They do.
Need to have a path to have better lives than us. And when I came here, that was very much a theme. It's like next generation will have a better life than the previous generation. And unfortunately, I don't know that we're on the path to be able to say it to our next generation, right?
No, but you were making quite a mark.
Well, it's,
this is so important.
Yeah, it's being able to build homes faster, less expensive, maybe build a home, like in my own example, I'm building a home that's a little bit larger than I need, but I'm going to rent 2 or 3 rooms in the back to an Airbnb.
You go. Yes, why not?
So that I'm going to calculate it so that my income will cover most of the payments or an ADU. So there are many new twists to this to try to figure out how.
There are creativity, and now you're scaling. You're raising funding. Tell us about that, where it stands.
Yeah. So this is a very expensive proposition that we've come up with. So on one hand, we're achieving the savings and speed, but in order to do that, we need to make huge investment in equipment and technology and employees who make a lot more money than your regular construction workers. So, we've raised almost $7.5 million in the last 4 years. And our investors have done very well. I mean, their valuation of what they've invested in just 3 years ago is now 10x of
That's amazing.
The value of the company is now 10x what it was 3 years ago. Even people who invested just 9 months ago, as you know.
As I know, yes, I'm an investor.
Their valuation increased 3x.
That's wonder. I told Dean that today. Yeah, it's good news.
So, and it is just the beginning. It really is just the beginning. We're still a small company. So our goal is now to raise $10 million in Series A funding. And what it will do is a couple things.
Yeah.
It'll provide capital to continue growth. Our goal all along was to have a factory in every time zone before we go international. And of course, LA and Denver solve the 2 time zones. But the goal is in the next 12 to 18 months to find locations in Midwest and East Coast.
Which means infrastructure.
Right. So that's number one. Number 2 is we have been very successful getting government contracts. So we did.
That's great.
We have a couple contracts in California and now bidding on some major contracts for all kind of entities. And in order to be able to qualify for those contracts, you need to be bondable. So you need to get a completion bond.
Right.
Insurance companies who issue these bonds are not necessarily, are a little bit scared of us because we designed this innovative technology. If something happens to us, they might not be able to finish it, right?
Yeah.
So they want to make sure that we have financial strength, so we have cash in the bank,
right,
so that we can guarantee. So that's primarily how these funds are going to be used, because we now have a positive EBITDA. So So we really need the cash to improve our financial position,
Right.
so we can get larger contracts.
So you can grow, so you could scale, so you don't
Right.
get caught in that, heaven forbid.
Right.
The mid-growth stages can be so difficult.
Right. So, and look, we are now even, I've submitted a couple of very large bids, over $60 million of bids. And I found a JV partner, so we will find a way, but we're a licensed general contractor, especially it's in our backyard in California. We can do the whole work. So, it's like, why should we give up 50% of the profit because we don't have financials strong enough? So that's purpose number one. And then from the very beginning, we feel that with this technology that's patented, we should be able to grow globally. I've built a global company before, so my business that I started before this was a company that started in the U.S. education system for charter schools. Then we expanded to Middle East, India, and Europe. And we kind of want to follow a similar trajectory here. We still have connections all over the globe. And very soon we will make announcement of the JV that we already signed in the Middle East. It's going to be terrific. It's going to require...
And it's sustainable. So many of these are sustainable.
Yeah. Well, we can actually manage 3D printers from sitting in our California location.
It's great.
So we can manage technology. It requires no humans. It's all done by software. So it's really exciting to be able to see. We get inquiries from all over the world.
Yeah.
Africa, Asia, South America. I mean, right now I have my virtual assistant. I just said, look, when they come in, just file them in different countries.
Right.
But I spoke at a number of conferences in Dubai and Riyadh, and I'll be speaking at one in Abu Dhabi very soon. So there are some regions that are more ready than others.
Right.
So Middle East, they have shortage of labor. They have a tremendous growth. Gaza needs to be rebuilt.
Right.
So there is just a huge need. And plus, the countries accepted sustainability, so they love our product. So that's immediate need. But Europe, look, I'm hoping that Ukraine will need to be rebuilt soon, right?
What I'm looking forward to is the end of this year, first of next year, you and I will sit down again and take another look. It's going to be really, really interesting to see how far you've come.
Yeah.
So it's exciting now, and I think hold on to our hats. It's going to be even better. And anyway, but I want to make certain that we don't miss this opportunity to tell everyone who's interested in learning more, in investing, they should go to. Yeah.
So our investment done on Wefunder. It's wefunder.com/Azure. Or just to contact me, and I'm sure we can provide information.
We've got that info.
I'm still, I spend, my business partner runs operation and design and permitting. I work on sales and
I know that. I see you.
and raising
all
equity.
Times of day and night.
So I'm easily reachable.
Easy to find.
And if I don't have time to do it Monday to Friday, I talk to many people on the weekends, or evenings. Yeah.
Easy to find.
Well, I really, it's very rare to be involved in this kind of innovation. And some of the best ideas I get from people who just contact me out of the blue. They're either customers or investor, sometimes very often both. And the more I can explain, the more people that can come to our factory and see what we have. It's kind of incredible. It's like, we have so many videos out and still people don't have an idea until they come to the place.
Well, we'll invite them all, and I can't wait for that reunion. It's going to be a good one. But in all, thank you so much. And thanks for joining the Board of Advisors podcast. We invite everyone listening to let us know, give us likes, comments, subscribe. Let us know how we're doing, and we're grateful you're here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thanks for your support.
Of course.